If someone had just told me what they did to improve on the SAT, I could have saved months of time without getting the results that I wanted, without improving. If I was just told what I needed to do, what I needed to prioritize, this over that, and what's like the most important things that I really have to focus on at the stage that I was, I could have saved so much stress from not knowing if what I was doing was actually going to help me, from trial and error of trying different things and seeing what actually helped. I could not only could I have gotten a better score overall in the time frame that I studied, but I probably could have gotten it a lot faster. I could have gotten it way earlier. It wouldn't have taken me 2 years as it did. Hi, I'm Karthik, and if I had to prepare for the SAT all over again, this is exactly what I would do. Now, the first step is recognizing what stage of prep you are in. I've broken down for the different sections what stages you could possibly be in and what you should prioritize to get better or improve from that stage and reach the ideal score that you want to achieve. So, for grammar and math and reading, the stages are slightly different just because those different sections are built kind of different in their question format. So for grammar and math, you're either in the learning or the mastery stage, right? Are you simply learning the questions and learning the concepts behind them? Like, do you understand what concept it is? Or do you already understand the concepts of every single question, but you make mistakes here and then, right? So if you want to figure out what stage you're in, you simply have to ask yourself, do you understand the question, right? Do you understand exactly what the question is testing? Like what exact skill or what exact like a grammar rule or math formula you have to apply, right? And if you do already understand the type of question and know how to approach it, then you've probably passed the learning stage. But if you don't understand it and you're still trying to figure out exactly what equation to use or how I even begin solving it, then you're probably in the learning stage, right? Now, a lot of people ask me, what is the score range you would be in either of these sections? Now, if I was forced to give an answer, I would say if you're low 650s and under, you're probably in the learning stage, and if you're above that, you're in mastery. But you could be in learning or mastery stages for different types of questions, right? You could be in the learning stage for a specific type of question because you don't know about it, or you can be in the mastery stage of a bunch of other questions that you do fully understand, but then you still make some mistakes on, right? You fully understand the question on some and not on the others. So you could be in different stages depending on what exact stage or how much prep you've done for that specific question, right? Now, I also get this question about careless mistakes. If you make careless mistakes, you're in the mastery stage. And I'll tell you why. Careless mistakes don't just happen, right? They happen because of a lack of complete mastery, right? Think about this. When was the last time you made a mistake doing 2 plus 2? Right? 2 plus 2 is so simple, and simple addition almost anybody can do without making mistakes. And you have to ask yourself why that is, right? No one makes careless mistakes doing that because they have such a strong mastery of that concept, right? It's all dependent on your mastery. It's dependent on how much practice you have with that skill. If you use it on a daily basis, you tend to not get it carelessly wrong, right? So that's my opinion on careless mistakes. If you make them, I think you're in the mastery stage and you've already done most of the learning, unless you completely don't know the question. Now, for SAT reading, it's essentially one stage. You're essentially in the mastery stage, and I'll talk about that later. Now, if you're in the learning stage and you want to get to mastery, you need to focus on exactly what the SAT tests, right? You need to compile a list of every single skill that you fully like don't understand or that you like somewhat don't understand, right? Anything that seems like foreign to you, like you look at it on the question paper and you don't know what it's testing, that's when you need to focus on the SAT content. So your idea of improving right now should be learning everything that is tested. Learn every single thing that's on the SAT. And you have to use outside resources to learn these things, right? You're not going to just magically understand how to do a certain type of quadratic function if you've never seen or heard of it before. So I like Khan Academy for that reason, where you can actually learn the specific skill that you don't know, but definitely consult outside resources to learn because there's no way you're just going to come up with it yourself. So you have to consult online and you have to know exactly what you don't know, and the only way by doing that is testing your ability on the SAT, right? So how do you know that you've moved on from this stage? You know when questions stop becoming unfamiliar and they start becoming completely familiar, right? You see a question and you went from not being able to even do it to now, like, I know the math and I know how to do it, and you might still get some of them wrong, but as long as you recognize what method you need to do to solve that question, or what exact like rule is being tested, like let's say in a grammar question it's like a tense rule, and you know exactly what is being tested, but you might get it wrong anyway because you did it incorrectly, but you know what's being tested. That means you've moved on to the mastery stage. Now, how do we master skills? Now that we're in this stage, how do we get them to perfection? Now, if you've moved from the learning stage to the mastery stage, then you probably know exactly what skill it is, right? You already have a good recognition of what skills you've mastered and what skills you're in the learning stage for. But if you already have mastered most of the skills on the SAT, as in you know how to do all of them already, then you need to identify the exact concepts or skills that you have problems with, right? The questions that you get incorrect are the ones that you need more mastery in. It's as simple as that, right? And the simple way to improve this, and people generally don't like it when I say it, but it's practice, right? And it's not just practice, it's practice volume. You have to put in loads of work on that specific type of question. You have to do it multiple times. You have to constantly practice it, right? Because the only way we got good at doing 2 plus 2 was we did 2 plus 2 thousands of times throughout our lifetime, right? And I'm not saying you have to do it thousands of times, but the more you do problems, the better you get at them, just because you have more familiarity. So the only way to master skills now that you already know them is practice. Practice, practice, practice. That's literally the most important concept in all of SAT preparation, is just practicing volume of questions. Try to do more and more. Like, keep focusing on how much you're doing and try to increase that amount. I think that's literally the most important thing. And if there's one thing that you take from this video, is that you increase your practice volume on the thing that you don't know, right? If you answer questions incorrectly that you answered correctly before, that still means that you have a mastery gap in that specific type of problem. So you need to do volume for that kind of problem as well, so you know that you won't get it wrong next time you encounter it. Now for SAT reading. As I said before, you're already in the mastery stage. If you know how to read and you know how to analyze, right, which is just basic comprehension skills, you already have the skill of reading. You're already in the mastery stage. You just need to do the same thing as before, which is practice. Flood volume of problems. SAT reading is one of those where the volume that you need to improve is so much higher than the math or the grammar questions. You need so much more volume to get good at SAT reading than any of the other ones. I suggest doing like passages almost every single day and just trying to constantly get better at analysis, right? And when you're first starting, if you find that time is a difficult constraint for you, I'm going to say something crazy. Ignore it completely. Don't even time yourself. Just put a stopwatch to see how long you take, right? And this is important because you need to get better at analysis, not fitting the time constraint, right? If I gave you an infinite amount of time, you could probably get all the questions correct, right? But that's not the case with the SAT. So how do we get better at analyzing, right? Now, the fact that you would get all the questions right if you had an infinite amount of time attest to how you have the ability to analyze, but it's just not strong enough, right? So if we want to practice our ability to analyze, we need to do more and more problems every single time. So if we have a problem that we like just don't understand the why it's correct or why it was wrong, we go back to the passage and we try to find the exact point that points to why it's correct or why it's incorrect, right? And that will really help us increase our ability to analyze. And if we get better at analysis, right, because that's essentially what SAT reading is like testing you, as you get better, your accuracy goes up and your speed, right? So that's why I say ignore time, because getting better at analysis just makes you fit the time constraint if you get better, right? So the answers that you get wrong, I want you to go back and look through them with extra detail and extra care. And in terms of accuracy and speed, that's going to go up as you just do this more. So number one thing, if you have to take anything away from SAT reading concepts, it's just practice. Increase your volume of practice, ignore time. Now some final tips. I always get this question: how long is this going to take? How long is it going to take me to improve 100 points? How long is it going to take me to improve 200 points? The obvious answer is I don't know. It depends, right? But all I'm going to say is that don't expect to improve your score a significant amount in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You need to do so much volume to see an improvement in your score. You're probably not going to see a decent improvement in your score in like 2 weeks. It's going to take maybe months, right? So stick to practicing and try to hit daily, like weekly volume goals and increase that volume every week so you actually do more and improve, right? It's a marathon over a sprint. It's not about how much I can do in 2 weeks and cram right before my SAT day. It's about how much can I do for a couple of months before my SAT at a decent pace so I don't get burnt out, but I also maximize my learning. Now, I had a free SAT prep offer and that closed. The only 5 spots that I had were completely taken really quick. But since there was so much demand for it and I got so many responses, I'm going to open up a couple more spots and I'm going to decide who to take maybe a week from now. So if you're interested in that, click the link in description. And I hope you guys learned something today.